So let's just say we've come this far and you've decided, okay, I'm super excited about this journey and I'm going to get it right. There are a couple of unique obstacles and challenges, and Dhiren's going to share with us his experience of managing data projects.
So I'm Dhiren Seetharam. I've largely worked in organizations leading delivery management projects as well as analytics initiatives. And I strive to try and utilize all lessons learned in past experiences to give organizations a competitive advantage. And it's always a kick for me to get the next big complex thing to manage because I love problem solving. And today I'd like to just focus on how we actually managing the process. Right, my colleagues have already talked a lot about the analytics process, but I want to talk about the management of the process. So what I want to cover is largely if we just picture the scenario of where we are. We've got our RFP awarded, our budget has been secured, and executive expectation is quite high, and day one is now upon us to get started. If you can click through, please. Now, having walked through many day one planning workshops, I find that challenges range from not having resources available to teams not being present. And what you usually find is that everything is a priority, right, to get executed. So in my experience, I found that there is never a standard blueprint that can be applied to achieve success. And I practice a philosophy of tailoring a management framework that works for the business and not taking a one-size-fits-all approach. So I want to show you how you could benefit from this approach as early as day one. If you can click through, Brad. So some key tenets that I apply to building a successful management and implementation process. You have to pick your battles. You have to prioritize so you don't lose this war. It's fundamental that you assign priority to your strategic initiatives and measure these outcomes that will ensure that you stay on track. You will never be able to do everything all the time. So prioritization helps you to do the right thing at the right time. The second tenet is related to a high-performing team and having the right team that is able to do the job. You very rarely have a dream team at your disposal all the time, but you need to have the right team with the requisite skills and leaders to drive that high performance. So that means a multidisciplinary team consisting of your experts as well as those outside the organization, so we can get good cross-pollination of skills and minds happening. And lastly, agility is mandatory. You have to be able to embrace agile principles to be able to deliver efficiently. Agility gives you a team focused direction over a fixed period and provides standard metrics to monitor and manage your risk. It's also iterative. So that allows you to pivot based on your results so you can adapt and learn from them. Strong governance goes without saying, is required. And therefore, a program management or transformation office becomes that single authoritative body that manages delivery across streams. If you can go to the next one, Brad. So I want to share or take you through my experience at the MultiChoice Group. MultiChoice has been an African media entertainment company where I was an agile lead. And as we all know, there's a variety of international competitors that are already operating in the markets that MultiChoice operates in. And automatically, this implies that there is a need for transformation to occur, both from the analytics front, but also from a digital transformation and business transformation perspective. So the scale of this transformation was looking at some 3,000 plus requirements over a 3-year period with 150 odd program team members sitting across the group. And I'll share with you some of the actions that were taken in the planning sprints that began as early as day one. So if you can click through, please. At a macro level, what we do is prioritize and get small proof of concepts running in 2 streams under analytics and digital. Now, we know that we cannot work on all use cases and requirements, so using a simple prioritization method is important so that it can communicate upwards to stakeholders, but also is powerful enough so that it gives the team focused attention on what to concentrate on. So we used a weighted system that allows for common priorities to bubble up. And at the delivery team level, I also found that the Moscow method is quite helpful. Please click through. So on the analytics side, we started with various POCs. We took a small subset of 100,000 customers in a single country where we can talk about and perform analytic studies against what the customer base is and the products that we could apply to them to retain them. And at the end of it, you would evaluate based on the success indicator that you have to know what the market segments are and the products that apply to them based on their current viewing patterns. Click through, please. In the separate stream related to the business of digital transformation, here again, we needed POCs to be defined. Now, the first order of business was to confirm that all of the wonderful platforms mentioned at RFP stage actually work and support my strategic intent. So success indicators here were that the new systems could provide with a quicker ordering and activation time, and also provide tangible measurements that could be compared to the current platforms. Click through. So you have also the internal teams that you now need to apply to each of these streams. Excuse me. And this consists of a multidisciplinary team with external experts. Now, especially with the internal capacity, you have to remove them out of operations, which may not always be an option. So here we used the WIX model, where you had a majority of time devoted to the transformation initiative. And because you were adopting agile bursts of work, it became easier to plan for resumption of operational work if needed. And these executed over an 8-week period in parallel. Click through. Now you already have a macro view of what your strategic roadmap looks like over the 3-year period. And you can work backwards to determine the intended milestones that you need to achieve for each 2-month period. Click through, please. So in the first 2 months, you now have already determined from your analytics streams the product and market segment mixes that your analytics team can now utilize to confirm in other countries and other territories. And at the same time, on the digital stream, you've confirmed that the ordering process has resulted in a time saving of 20% for sales agents. So this gives you an opportunity to sell more. This valuable feedback is also now used as a foundation for the next stage in each stream. And in this matter, you can see how your small incremental wins start to serve to bolster confidence as you work through eating this elephant on your strategic journey. Next click, please. Monitoring of your progress is important in an agile framework, and your agile ways of work define how your ceremonies are run across the streams and how your team progress feeds from your lowest level, which are teams, upwards to the stream progress, and then further on to the program progress. Tailoring is always at play here, and it's based on the maturity of your teams. I had to adapt a Scrum model for the business teams because you don't want to apply a heavy-handed approach for business teams who have no experience with Agile, but you could use a standard Scrum approach for dev teams. And your standard progress indicators, such as burn down charts, give you control over the velocity of delivery and keeps you on track. So I was also able to then monitor through the delivery management platform the various dashboards that were created at each level. And doing this helps them to create transparency for all upstream and downstream stakeholders, especially your executives. So my hope is that these 3 principles can be of value to you in your strategic journey, and I look forward to your questions in the Q&A session. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you so much, Dhiren. while Majik gets his slides up, I just want to say a few brief words. Thank you so much for such a structured approach that shows, with a real data transformation example, it shows how one can do this in a practical way that can actually scale. I think another one of the biggest takeaways here for a room full of business people is that the fundamentals of how you would approach business transformation still holds in the data environment. And so, all you need to do is trust yourself in that and get down to the very basics, start small and scale up from there. So thank you for that, Dhiren.